Okay, I think we are already 3 minutes over the given time. So let's begin here. Hello, everyone. Good evening, good morning to all. I would like to extend our appreciation in regards to all the students and families who have joined us for this webinar from different parts of India, Sri Lanka, Nepal, Bangladesh, and Canada. My name is Mukta Sanjeev, and I am your host for the evening today and would facilitate this webinar. As you know, IDP Education is an international education specialist from over 50 years, having its presence in more than 30 countries across the world. IDP is an ASEX listed company which takes pride in helping students realize their study abroad dreams in 6 English speaking countries. And Canada is one such preferred study destination by aspiring students across the world, and more so from South Asia. So we know that international students enrich communities in Canada and are a critical part of Canada's social, cultural, and economic fabric as they work to better protect international students and support sustainable population growth in Canada. The government has moved forward with measures to stabilize the number of international students in Canada. And thus, this webinar, we have invited distinguished panelists from Canada and India who have consented to address our student queries on the recent announcements made by IRCC. So let me first of all welcome our panelists today. The first panelist, I would like Christine to give a wave to all the students who are looking at her right now. Christine Walk, Senior Vice President, Partnership and Stakeholder Engagement, USA and Canada, works with IDP Connect. Christine leads the IDP North America Client Relations, Marketing and Success teams. She is responsible for the growth and expansion of strategic partnership with institutions and sector stakeholders across Canada and the US. Christine joined IDP Connect in 2020 with 17 years of experience in post-secondary education, including international recruitment, partnership, IELTS testing, and tech-driven student support programs. She herself holds a bachelor's degree from the University of Waterloo, Masters of Education in Post-Secondary Studies from Memorial University, and completed an MBA Executive Development Program from McGill University. She's also currently completing a certified professional coaching program. Good morning to you, Christine. Thank you so much for coming here.
Good morning. Thank you so much, Mukta. Happy to be here.
Thank you once again. And the next panelist today is with us is Luna Das. Luna Das is Director of Client Partnership Canada, works with IDP Connect. Luna Das is an experienced leader in international education with 15 years of experience. She has held leadership roles in dynamic and diverse organizations such as Canadian Education Center, Fulbright Commission, Education USA, Millbury College, IDP Connect across various countries in South Asia and Southeast Asia. Currently, Luna works in Toronto as Director of Client Partnership, Canada for IDP Connect, and is responsible for delivery of core business objectives of revenue, product, and client growth. Thank you, Luna. Good morning to you as well from Canada.
Good morning, all of you. Good morning, all the students. I'm glad to be here. Hope today we are able to answer some of your questions. So look forward to the interaction.
Thank you, Luna. And our next panelist, Rahul Kumar. Last but not the least, he is Director Sales and Operations for North and East for IDP India. Rahul is an experienced international education professional with a demonstrated history of working in the education management sector for over 15 years. He has dealt and supported international education for Canadian institutions for a very long period of time. Now he's currently oversees a very huge part of India, North and East, with his team for all countries to help students decide for their international education dreams. Thank you so much, Rahul. Hi, how are you? Good morning and good evening.
Thank you, Mukta. Happy to be here.
Thank you so much, Rahul. And not taking much time, we are going to simply straight away jump into our discussion. And the first question today, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take up the questions with all our panelists. And these questions are based upon the announcements which have been done recently by IRCC and also based upon our interaction with the student in past few days. So my first question goes to Christine to address. So Christine, could you please clarify on the latest announcements made by IRCC that are capping the international student visa for 2 years? So what does this capping mean for the students? And if this drop is also huge, how significant is this that you think when you compare it with other countries? maybe like Australia or UK?
Great. Thank you so much, Mukta. So at first, I'd like to set the stage and say Canada is still a welcoming place. And I think there was a bit of a panic when this announcement was first made because it did seem quite sweeping and like would have great impact. Well, that may be true for some, areas of student flow into Canada. It's still going to be huge numbers. So even with this cap, so-called cap, so limiting the number of study permits that we're accepting for this year, still 360,000 students can apply for study permits for Canada, and India is about 45% of that. So that's still 160K-ish coming from India. That's more than countries like Australia, more than most destinations. So it's still a very healthy number. I think the sentiment, to know in Canada, this is all over the news, and they're interviewing students, is that some of these changes are positive. And I would look at them as a pause, not a full stop. These are going to be reviewed in about 11 months at the end of the year. And the intention here is to focus on quality, a quality experience for students, so that students have all the resources they need when they come to Canada, and that parents can feel safe and really positive about sending their students to Canada. So I've got a lot to say about this. It'll come out throughout the webinar. But it's still really quite a significant number of students that will be flowing into Canada this year.
Thank you, Christine. That's encouraging to know that there's no need to panic. Okay, so let's understand different aspect to this announcement only. So Luna, this question goes to you, that how do you see the Canadian institutions preparing themselves for this change? What I mean to say is that what impact will it have on the students who are already studying with them, or the students who are in the process of applying for the study permit, or the students who are starting to apply? So if you can answer all these queries from the institution's perspective, because you work so closely with them.
Yeah, thanks, Mukta, for this question. And I'm sure there's so many students who are thinking about the same as you've just sort of addressed. The first thing that I'd like to tell everyone is that, as just taking the theme from Christine, the reason why there has been a pause or there has been a cap on students is because people were listening to the complaints of the students. So in the last couple of months, last many months actually, there has been a lot of conversation around housing. There's been a conversation around, expenses like, you're not getting enough jobs on the campus. There were so many things that, that were not enough as resources for international students. So first of all, just trying to understand that the reason why this has happened is because someone is listening to this feedback and it's positive. As Christine said, it's a temporary measure going to be reviewed after 12 months or 11 months. And then this has been announced only for 2 years. Now, how are institutions sort of coping with it? The first thing that we really need to understand is that this is a very recent announcement. So as things unfold, institutions are trying to inform their students as early as possible. Many institutions are holding their own webinars, so stay tuned in, be in contact with your IDP counselors. So as far as Ontario schools, and I'm specifically saying Ontario schools because I've had a conversation with many of them in the last few days, they have not got their caps as of now. So not on the province and neither on their particular institutions. So what we really need to do right now is wait and watch. So all the students who applied before the 22nd January, business as usual, nothing to change. But any students who had applied for before January 22nd, but for September, you may expect, you may expect to hear back something because we still don't know what's going on. What we are sure of is that any student who's applied before January 22nd for the May session doesn't need to do anything. While Christine was speaking, I think somebody wrote in the Q&A that they just received their visas for Crandall, and is it going to have any impact on their visa with regards to PGWP or anything any of the new developments? The clear answer is no. Any student who already holds a visa or has already got a visa or is looking for an extension, that's not really going to have an impact. Anyone who applies after 22nd of January, my advice would be to hold off. You can only apply with an attestation letter. If you've applied after the January 22nd, most likely your application is going to be returned to you and your money would be refunded for visa. So that's what my understanding is. But like I said, what I'm saying today might be different from what happens tomorrow. So as we speak, things are unfolding. There's more information coming in. So we commit to provide you all the latest information. Your offices, local offices would really help you with updating you. I know, Mukta, you asked me 1 or 2 or 3 questions. Did I answer all of them or did I miss out on anything?
Yes, so all the scenarios are answered, and I think this is helpful for the students to know that they don't have to worry in case they already are holding a visa. They should be preparing to leave. And the ones who you said should hold on for applying, you mean to say hold on to apply for the study permit application and not for applying to the institution for getting an offer from a particular institution for a particular program.
That's
Correct?
what my understanding is. However, one thing to keep in mind is that yes, you can apply. However, the colleges still don't know how many seats they have, for example. So they would take the applications for sure, but for them to be able to provide any feedback to the student, they really need to understand what's their cap as well.
Yeah, I think I just add to that, Luna, that there's the feedback, I think, mostly from especially Ontario colleges is go ahead and apply to the school. Then you'll have to wait. But you will be ready with part of your application to the school that will be in. And when the school understands what that letter is from the province, the attestation letter from the province, then you can go ahead and apply for the visa. So there's a pause on that portion, but go ahead and apply to the schools.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's interesting, and it's heartening that the institutions are also equally worried and taking measures to help the students as soon as possible.
Yes, yeah. There's a rumor, this is a rumor, so let's not hold on to it, but that there will be an announcement in the coming week or 2. It might not take as long as March 31st. There's a lot of pressure right now to move this faster, and there may be some announcements in British Columbia this morning. So let's wait and see. I think we're taking it day by day. But I think it's just to know that for your sense of security in this, there's a lot of colleges and universities and Canadian associations in international education pushing to get this clarified as soon as possible.
Thank you, Christine, for this, and I hope the rumor turns reality as soon as possible. Great. So I think I would like to now ask Rahul his inputs upon this announcement with respect to the announcement categorizing it as a 35% reduction in visa. What does that mean for the Indian students? Do you see a hope here in this reduction? Because you face so many students, they look up to you. So how do you see that? What is in it for the students? What should they be ready with? Who all are exempted out of it?
Thanks for that question, Mukta. So, I would like to clarify one thing first is that, there is no cap on the summer intake. So all the students who are aspiring to go to Canada in the summer intake, there is no cap on those students or institutions for the summer intake. The proposed cap is for the fall intake onwards. So all students, all institutions, all provinces will have a 35%. So overall, Canada will invite 35% lesser students than the previous year. But let me tell you a very interesting fact that last year, only from India, close to about 230,000 students went to fulfill their Canadian dream. In comparison to that, UK attracted 140,000 students, USA attracted close to about 130,000 students, and Australia attracted close to about 50,000 students. So Canada last year was by far the biggest destination among all the other popular destinations. Now, even with a 35% cap, next year, this volume is likely to go down to 160,000. But if you still compare with all the other destinations, Canada will continue to be the largest and most popular destination among Indian students. So I don't think there is any reason to panic. And as Christine and Luna have both highlighted, that institutions and provinces are coming up with more clarity, both on the attestation letter part as well as the CAP part, right? So, so I don't think students should panic at all. In the coming days and weeks, we will get more clarity. And then we will be able to, give the best advice to students as far as this particular CAP is concerned.
That's helpful and promising, Rahul. 160,000 is still ringing in my ears. So I still see that the scope of the students is quite huge, and one can definitely look up to. And what I draw one more conclusion is that the upcoming summer intake or May intake for Canada is open, and one should get ready for that. Correct?
Yes, absolutely. And, I would just quickly like to add one more thing, Mukta.
Yeah.
We also need to understand, I think Christine also mentioned that, we also need to understand as a student community, as, professionals in the international education sector, the reason behind, why Canadian government is doing it. So the reason is to give better facilities to students, to ensure that students are successful, to ensure that even a reduced volume of international students who choose Canada as their dream destination after completion of the program, they get good jobs because they'll have lesser competition, more opportunities will be available to those students. So they'll get better jobs, they'll get better pays, and ultimately they'll have a successful life in Canada, and that is something that all of us want, including the Canadian government.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes, we should keep it in mind when we are taking a decision of which country. So these are very important aspects of decision making. Okay, let's move forward, and let me put this question to Christine and Rahul. Maybe Christine can begin. So we have seen, Christine, that Canada has been very popular for offering a wide range of study levels to international students, which suits their needs for skill development. And because of these announcements, one of the most popular such level is the master's program. Now, we see that from South Asia, this is one of the most popular programs picked up by the students. So, would you like to please comment upon that, how the PGWP for master's level will benefit to, to these students, and what are these kind of programs like? The students should be enlightened on this, Christine.
Thank you so much, Mukta. Yeah, I think there's some good news in this announcement on the master's side. So soon, any student that goes to study in a master's university program, so to be clear, university program, will be eligible for a 3-year work permit, which is fantastic. There's also there's changes to the postgrads, that's in the college sector. And that's going to be the 2-year for the 2-year. But for the master's students, I think this is a big opportunity. And this is Canada really focused on high skill students coming in to the country, because there is still a labor market shortage in high skill areas. And I think that's something that, maybe we can do more webinars on, looking at the options for master's programs in the country. The other thing about this is that there's going to be, there'll still be the work permit, open work permit for spouses of students who are in the master's and above, so PhD levels. So I think in this area, it's good news for students, and there's actually more opportunity. Rahul, would you add anything to that?
Yeah, I'll just add one thing that, earlier when students used to choose masters, because typically a master's program in Canada is anywhere between, 14 months to 18 months program. Typically the postgraduate work permit related rules were that, once you apply for a postgraduate work permit after completion of the program, you would be eligible to get, the minimum duration that you would get would be the length of the program. So the duration would be, the postgraduate work permit would be at least equal to the length of your program. And it can be granted up to 3 years. So it was termed as up to 3 years. But now the recent notification says that if you choose a master's, you'll get a 3-year work permit. So there is no ambiguity anymore. So it is not dependent on the length of the program. You'll get a 3-year postgraduate work permit if you choose to do a master's. Also,
this is fantastic news.
Yeah. Also, the cap is not applicable on master's program. So the cap is there for all institutions of Canada, all provinces of Canada, but not for master's program or PhD program. So anybody who's going for a master's program, they're not going to be impacted by the cap.
Okay, that's very interesting news. So, Rahul, could you please also clarify further on to the same aspect which you said that CAP doesn't apply to the master's program? So, what about the need of the attestation letter?
Yeah, so attestation letter is something different. So, any student, who's going to any province, from that particular provincial government, students now require an attestation letter. So, if I were to bring a parallel, students going to Quebec, for example, in addition to their acceptance letter from the institution, they also need a letter called CAQ, a document called CAQ from the, provincial government of Quebec before they apply for their visa. So it's a mandatory document for the visa process. The same process, it is, something similar. It's not exactly the same, but something similar is going to come for all provinces now in the form of attestation letter. So students will, apply as usual to the university of their choice or the college of their choice. They'll get a letter of acceptance. They'll accept that offer. They will pay the fee. And once everything is done, when the student is already ready to apply for visa, they will need to apply for an attestation letter. The process to get an attestation letter across provinces, it is yet to be announced by the provincial government. So we are awaiting more clarity on that. If a very basic parallel example is the Quebec, and that is why I mentioned that.
Wonderful. So thank you so much for this additional information, Rahul. I'm going to come back to this once again later on in our discussion. But now here I would like Luna to let us know that since you work so closely with the institutions and you do talk about the benefits that must pass on to the students. So in these changing scenarios, Luna, could you please help us, our students, understand that how will IDP help them in these changing scenarios?
Well, I mean, you can probably just add anything that you want me to, Mukta. I think from what I understand, just keeping all the information, absolutely, all the crucial information passed on to the students, I'd say. And then any specific questions, like I can see that there are a lot of questions popping in the Q&A section. So I would say that stay in touch with your IDP counselors, anything that has changed in your application or any new development that you think might have an impact on your application. So we would continue to assist you in the same way. I'd say that the role that we can play here is to make sure that all the new changes are communicated to you, all your questions regarding how the new changes might have an impact on your study visa application or your, or your academic application to an institution. We can address all that. Plus, I was just looking at so many questions popping up in general about Canadian higher education. I mean, nothing has changed there. You're still, as Christine was mentioning, Canada still continues to be a welcoming place for all the students. The changes that have been made is only going to make your life better in Canada because, there were so many concerns in the last couple of years due to so many students going to Canada. Those are the concerns that have been addressed here. Like, in the last couple of months or many months, actually, housing had become a big issue for students. So now you can perhaps find more affordable housing. You would have fewer students vying for the same number of houses in a, close to a campus. You would have access to more jobs. You would get more attention in the international center of an institution. So I think overall very positive, and all these changes and all these questions would be communicated. If you want me to focus on anything specific, Mukta, let me know.
I think you have answered most of it, Luna, and I already know that your phone is always flooded with calls and messages from the institutions in Canada. I think it is the other way around that you guys work together and understand that how to help the students in these scenarios. So you are basically the spokesperson on behalf of the students in the Canadian institution community. So in case if you would like to refer to any of the affirmations or any confirmations, any kind of positive
Absolutely.
thing that you have heard from the Canadian institutions with respect to this, support that they are planning to extend.
Yeah. So I think right after this announcement was made, we had gone to a Canadian public college. And as you know, as we all know, everybody really welcomes these international students on the campus. So the concern that all the students and the anxiety that the students are facing right now, I can tell you that it's the same on the other side as well. Canadian institutions really value international students. Canadian institutions appreciate the talent, the knowledge that they're bringing onto the table. They appreciate the peer education that it sort of brings into their to their campuses. So it's something that they're worried about as well. But overall, if you really look at the sentiment, it's positive. I think it reinforces the fact that all the issues which had occurred in the last couple of years due to overpopulation of Canadian students. And if you look at the stats, we were sending, I think, so many more students than what Australia or any other country was taking. So obviously there's a capacity, and once it starts exceeding that capacity, you have bad customer experience. And that's exactly what we had been seeing in the last couple of years. So institutions overall are, obviously it was a big change. Everything came at one time. So I don't know whether that was something everybody was prepared for, but as the time is passing by, people are able to see through the changes, understand how they can best assist students. And this is something like, we've all been mentioning. It's something which is sort of looking at as a temporary measure, just to see how it stabilizes the system and what are the goods and bads that we can take from here. Maybe, I mean, we are ready for taking more students, or maybe we are ready to make adjustments. So this is not a permanent change. It's a wait and watch situation, trying to review. It's going to be reviewed after the first couple of months, just to see, what were the challenges, what did we do well, what did not work at all. So I can just assure you that institutions are ready to support you in the way they want. Whatever communication comes to us, we do not even take minutes to pass it on to the IDP office. And for all the students on this who are watching this panel or are tuned in, I must assure you that for us, you come first. So anything that we are hearing, we pass it on to our local teams in India, and I'm sure they are helping you out every minute. So be assured that, you would not be behind on any information that's coming up. That's all I can say.
That's fantastic, Luna. Thank you so much. And please continue giving us more insights from the market. That will be very, very reassuring. So I was also wanting Rahul to give it to the local South Asia, India perspective, because having this kind of an informative session, having you guys share your experiences and what kind of information you have from within the market is interesting for the students to know and very, very reassuring. But over and above this, what would you advise the students here right now, that how is IDP coming across and helping out students?
Okay, so it's good that you're asking from a South Asia and India perspective. So I would request all attendants, all attending students to just listen to me for 1 minute. So stop focusing on typing questions in the Q&A tab, because I see a lot of questions there, and listen to me for 1 minute. Okay. So all these are fancy words: gap, attestation letters. All these are fancy words. In a very crude way, if I were to give you, what it actually means and how it will actually impact your life, as if you were a kid in my own home, I would tell you that, what it basically means for you is that the competition has just increased. So imagine an institution who will now have lesser seats for international students. Okay. A province having lesser seats for international students. So basically the competition for you has increased. Okay. So now, as experts, it is our responsibility to guide you on how to navigate through this increased competition. And we are prepared for it. So, just to tell everybody here is that IDP India has a huge team of Canada experts who are trained, tested, and certified before they interact with students. And we are present in 77, we have 77 offices in over 70 cities of India. So we have a massive presence in India. And similarly, we have a massive presence in other countries of South Asia. So Bangladesh, Nepal, Sri Lanka, we have a massive presence and a very, very good team. Get in touch with these counselors, ask all your questions. to these counselors, and I'm 100% sure that you will get a way out of this scary situation because of all the fancy words like CAP and attestation letter and the postgraduate work permit. So basically, it means that you need to be better prepared. You need to work better on your application. You need to apply early. You need to beat the queue, and you need to make the right choices in terms of institutions and programs and all that. And as I said earlier, we are prepared to help you. All the people who are typing questions in the Q&A tab, in the chat tab, my request to all of you, please listen to this conversation, and you will have most of your questions answered. Okay, so just wait. We will not be able to answer all the questions which you are typing, but at the end, we'll pick as many as we can and we'll try and answer those questions. So I hope Mukta was able to add a little bit of perspective from some.
Yes, absolutely, Rahul. And you have said it absolutely right, because I think counselors are way too expert and smart in helping out their students. And I believe their solutions with them are much, much more concrete for the respective students. It's better to connect with them. But here, right now, it is important to hear the advice and the insight for which this webinar is organized. So we will come back to the students' questions also towards the end, but I'm left with some more burning questions for our students to know and understand. So this one, of course, Rahul, you clarified a bit earlier, and Christine, you touched base upon this aspect of the fancy attestation letter requirement by the students, but it has come up as a big surprise to all of us. So we would like, Christine, you to let our students know that what is this requirement like, and what shall the student do in this case? Who's ready to submit a study permit application, a visa application. So what shall the student do as of now?
Thank you, Mukta. So I think as of now, as Rahul mentioned, institutions are still accepting applications. So I would say apply as usual. And to the point about more competition, I would say that's true. There's going to be more competition. So we're going to have to level up and give the best application that you can to get into school. So do that. And when the announcements are made, we will have more clarity on this provincial letter. As soon as that happens, if you've already applied to the school, once we have the information, when you apply for your study permit, you'll apply for the provincial letter at the same time. It will likely be the same as Quebec. So that's where the pause is, but that should not stop. I think if anything, right now you should be working with IDP counselors to get your applications in as soon as possible. Also, and I think we talked about this a couple years ago in one of these student sessions, it's going to be important right now, given the competition, to diversify. And by what I mean by that is apply to different provinces. You'll have a better chance of getting in if you look at institutions in different provinces: Manitoba, Saskatchewan, Alberta, British Columbia, Atlantic Canada. So there's Nova Scotia, Newfoundland, PEI, etc. Look at programs across the country because you will have a better chance of getting in. The other thing is, if you do your research, there's more jobs, more housing, more support if you take that route. So my sort of very clear advice is apply early, diversify, look at different provinces, because different provinces will offer similar programs in different institutions. Do your homework, work with IDP, and continue to get those applications in as soon as possible. The provincial clarity on the letter will come very soon, in weeks, I think. Latest end of March, we hope sooner. But I think that's the main message.
We would definitely like it to be cleared as soon as possible. Our students are waiting. Thank you so much for the advice, Christine. So I'm going to go a little fast because I think the kind of questions we are having right now from the students, we need to have some more time where we'll take up the questions coming up in the Q&A. But these are the questions actually which would answer majority of them. So I would like Rahul to address this question, because in the best interest of students, we would like you to advise them that someone who is looking to study and ready to submit the study permit application, the visa application, what is your advice to them? Should students be accepting the offers that they are receiving from the institutions that they have applied for? Should they be, submitting the tuition fee or wait? how would you advise them to go about?
Okay, so let me just divide this answer into two parts. First, I would like to answer to all students who are going for the summer intake, who are going to start their classes in Canada in the month of May, right? So all those students who already applied for visa before 22nd of January, no further action is needed for those students. So all those students who have already applied for visa for the May intake, you do not need to worry. Okay, you are through, right? So you just wait for the visa outcome. Once you get your visa, you will be able to go. Okay. All the students who have applied for visa 22nd of January onwards or on 22nd of January, who wanted to apply for visa on or after 22nd of January, you are going to need one additional document in your visa application, and that document is called attestation letter. Now, the process to get the attestation letter is going to be announced by different provinces of Canada. Now, some of you might wonder what is a province. So a province is just like a state in India. I know there are South Asian students also. So it's just like a state in your countries, right? So just like we have Punjab, we have Tamil Nadu, and we have so many other different states in India. Similarly, there are provinces in Canada, and all these provinces are going to announce their own processes to get the attestation letter. So my advice to all students who have not applied for visa yet, but who have paid, who have accepted their offer, who are absolutely ready to apply for visa, wait. Wait for the attestation letter process. Once that process is announced, get that attestation letter and then apply for your visa. The second thing is students who have either applied to an institution, are waiting for an offer, or who have received an offer, who have not decided what to do next, or who have received an offer and accepted the offer also. To all the students, my advice to you would be to move to the next stage, move your application to the next stage. So if you have applied for an offer already, please change your institution, try and get your offer as quickly as possible. Once you have an offer, or if you already have an offer, please accept that offer by making the payment, the tuition fee payment or whatever. And once the attestation letter process is announced, you will be absolutely ready to apply to that attestation letter and immediately apply for visa. You'll still be able to make it to the September intake. Now let's talk about students who are targeting the September intake. Again, no significant impact on your life. It is all good. It is just that the seats in popular provinces are going to be a little lesser. So that means there is going to be increased competition for a reduced number of seats in popular provinces like Ontario, British Columbia. And for that, you will need to apply as quickly as possible. So if you have not applied to an institution yet, apply as quickly as possible. Two, Christine and Luna both talked about diversification. So in fact, because the cap is going to be applications basis the population percentage of the total Canadian population. So in fact, some provinces are likely to have a larger share of international student numbers. So provinces like Alberta, Manitoba, Saskatchewan, Nova Scotia are likely to attract more students than previous years after this cap. So that presents a wonderful opportunity to all of you. So if you were earlier only thinking about Ontario and British Columbia, it is time to also explore universities and colleges in other provinces of Canada, so that you can be in a safer position, and you can still even if, let's say, you are not able to get to an institution in Ontario or BC, you will still be able to secure a seat in other provinces of Canada, and you will still be able to realize your Canadian dream. So again, students who are going for the September intake, move your application to the next steps. So if you are at applied stage, move to the acceptance stage. If you are move to the offer stage. If you are at the offer stage, move to the acceptance stage, and prepare yourself to apply for visa. The last point that I want to make is you might also be hearing about postgraduate work permit and the potential impact on postgraduate work permit of these announcements. So let me tell you that there is no impact on postgraduate work permit whatsoever, except for one small portion of Canadian institutions, which are private institutions, which currently run programs of public institutions through a licensing agreements. So it is called PPP. So the public-private partnership institutions, right now, as per the current announcements, are any student who start their classes from 1st September onwards in these institutions are not going to be eligible to get a postgraduate work permit. So that's the entire summary, right? So that's my advice to students, that apply as quickly as possible, beat the rush, and be prepared. Move your application to the next stages.
Thank you, Rahul, and thanks for patiently explaining all the steps and stages, because I'm sure with this advice, majority of the questions in the Q&A section are being addressed, though we will still take them up towards the end, and maybe we will request you to repeat probably what you have said again. But as of now, I'm moving towards another part of the announcement, and I'll go back to Christine in this case, and Luna also to add up that a study program that is a part of the curriculum licensing agreement arrangement will no longer be eligible for a PGWP on graduation effective from 1st September 2024. So Christine, could you please explain this to our students?
Sure, thank you so much. So that PPP that Rahul was speaking about is a partnership between some of the big public colleges. So that would be Conestoga does not have a PPP, but let's say Lambton College, Fleming College, Georgian College, and they partner with a private institution typically in Toronto, because it's Canada's largest city and it's very popular. So beginning in September, so not for the May intake, those programs will no longer give you eligibility for the post-grad work permit. So that's what's been made clear at this moment. I think I would revert back, and I feel like we might start repeating ourselves a little bit here at the end before we get to questions. But the key takeaway for me from this, if you were considering applying to one of those programs, and you could clarify that with your counselor, with your IDP counselor, because it is a bit confusing, as Rahul said, there's all these terms and PPP, and it might be hard to distinguish which college is in fact a PPP. So talk to your counselor, look at your application for September, and our advice would be, in order to attain the post-grad work permit, is to apply to a college or a university's master's program. So a public college, early, and you'll still have access to that post-grad work permit. So it's only a handful. There is a number of colleges, typically in the Greater Toronto area, which is the GTA, that have these partnerships that will no longer. That's a small portion of the Canadian higher ed opportunity. So I'd go back to, and this will be my final advice, but I'll keep repeating myself, that go back to looking at the wide ranges of colleges and university from coast to coast, right? Every province, like Rahul said, it's like a state. From coast to coast, there's going to be a lot of provinces that have actually more seats available. Yeah, so that's my advice there. It's nothing to panic about. It's just look at your strategy and adjust your strategy. Luna, did you want to add to that?
Yeah, I just wanted to add one quick point to, what you explained is completely it's comprehensive. I just wanted to add, somebody had written a question saying that if I go to the Toronto campus of Fanshawe, do I have PGWP eligibility? So the clear answer is no, because the campus is one thing that you really need to be clear about is you have to go to the main campus. So now if you're going to Cambrian, then you have to go to Sudbury. That is the campus which would make you eligible as far as the PGWP goes. If you go to the Toronto campus, then you don't have that eligibility for PGWP. So you have to understand that most of the Toronto campuses are PPPs, and that's very clearly defined as a non-PGWP eligible sort of big portion of it. So not big portion, actually, I'm saying that all PPPs do not offer you PGWP. So be very, very clear on that.
Great, thank you so much, Luna. And I think this also probably addresses a lot of queries that are coming up there in the Q&A. So I'll come back again briefly onto one more aspect of this announcement, though this webinar is primarily aimed at the aspiring international students, but the announcement also referred about the open work permit for the spouses to be limited to only master's and PhD students. So I would request Christine, if you can briefly clarify on the scope for a larger audience.
Thank you, Mukta. Yeah, so yes, these will be the only programs that have the open work permits for spouses of international students. So that's master's or doctoral degrees. It's going to be universities only. So Canadian colleges do not offer master's or PhD degrees. So a Canadian college post-grad program will no longer have this open work permit for spouses. If you would like to bring your spouse and for them to have that open work permit, we would recommend that you apply to universities. So again, there'll be no cap. There'll be that 3-year, very clear 3-year opportunity for the post-grad work permit on the master's program. Your spouse can apply for an open work permit and there will be no cap. If you're eligible for a university's master's program, I think that's an area of opportunity for you to do your research, look at course-based programs perhaps that match your skill set, your interests, and that align with the Canadian labor market. I think without getting too complex here, I think there's an opportunity in the future for us to take a look at what are the opportunities in the Canadian labor market, which are going to make your journey to Canada as smooth as possible. So if you're aligning with where the jobs are, high-skilled, high-paying jobs, with those master's programs in provinces where there's opportunity, you're going to have the greatest chance for success for you and your family.
Fantastic. So that means that now's the time that we should share our recommendations and tips for our students that how to face the current situation. So I would request all our panelists to address our students one by one. All the students at different stages, students who are looking to apply right now to a Canadian institutions, students who have applied already or holding an offer in their hand, and there are students who are also waiting to start their programs. So if you can address with your recommendations and one tip each, one of you, I understand that there are a lot of things we have recommended already, but looking at the current scenario, what would you like to advise the students with? So I think we'll start with Christine only.
Sure. I think I'll repeat myself a bit, but I'd say if you want to go this year, in this calendar year, I would apply now for spring and fall. There's going to be more competition for less seats. That's the first thing, especially for college programs. So I'd get your application in now and not worry so much about the provincial letter. When we have the information, we'll deal with that next step. So one step at a time, it's important to urgently get those applications in because once they're full, and then you'll apply to the next term. I'll repeat some of my other advice. Research other provinces. There's going to be more seats available outside of Toronto in the GTA, Greater Toronto Area. So do your research on diversity, work with IDP and your counselor on helping you with that. There are still colleges in Toronto that are public colleges that will be eligible for PPPs. So it'll be for postgrad work permits. So it'll be important to know that Seneca, Humber, George Brown College, Sheridan, etc. And then do your research, look at other provinces and opportunities. If you're eligible for a master's program, great idea to go that route, especially if you have a family. There's my advice.
Thank you, Christine. And I'm sure a lot of students are making a note of it. So we'll move on to Luna for her recommendations and advice.
I think everything is covered. Rahul and Christine have covered this in their previous comments as well. I just say that stay in touch with your counselor, anything changing, and PPPs, all the students who had applied to PPPs last year would apply to the public colleges now. So again, coming back to Rahul's and Christine's point on competition. So be sure that you're applying on time, explore other provinces, and stay in touch with your counselor to understand if there's anything that's changing and that you're following a very strict timeline. That's it from me. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Luna. We'll come back to you when we will take up the questions from the audiences. Coming to you, Rahul, what would you like to recommend and advise?
Okay, so we have already given a lot of information to students to digest. So I'll quickly give my advice, final advice, and that is breathe. Don't panic. Okay. Canada still is one of the best destinations to go for. The announcements were made only on the 22nd of January. Today is 26th of January. It's been only 4 days. So more information is likely to come in the next few weeks and days. The moment we receive any information, we will ensure that we do more sessions like these, and we ensure that you have all the information handy. Already some PPP institutions also have started to come up with ways to help international students. So Luna, Mukta, if time permits, I'll just give an example.
Yes.
So, the official notice says that any student starting on 1st of September in any PPP institution, they will not be eligible to get a postgraduate work permit. So quite a few of PPP institutions have already preponed their start date in the month of August. So that students who start in the month of August, they still qualify for the postgraduate work permit. So as time progresses, there is going to be more ways out. And students who have already received visa for PPP institutions or who have already received visa for fall intake, we will give you more advice as and when we have more information. So for now, do not panic. You still have a lot of time, both for summer intake as well as fall intake. Please stay in touch with your IDP counselors. And finally, last point, Canada still is one of the best destinations to go for. And if you stay in touch with your IDP counselor, if you follow all the advice, you will still be able to realize your Canadian education dream. Thank you.
Thank you, Rahul. I think it's a valuable advice. And while you were all recommending and advising to the students, I just had a look at all the questions that has been coming. There are more than 1,000 questions which we have already received. Our teams are answering to all the tactical ones on screen, but I would like to pose these questions to our panelists by clubbing a lot of queries in mind where I can see the confusion is between what study level at a PG level one should take for. If anybody can define on that, what are these PG diplomas, PG certificates, PG graduate certificate programs, masters? What is the differentiation? What does a student look forward for when they go to their counselor, looking at the kind of opportunities now they have in Canada? So I think Luna, would you like to respond on this?
Yeah, sure, Mukta. I can get started on this. See, I think so. One thing that we have to really understand that the CAP attestation requirements has nothing to do with what your intention, your objectives to study a program or to look for a job is. So that process stays the same. If you're someone who's looking at maybe pursuing a career in research, or you're looking at going the academic way, you obviously are looking at a master's by research program. If you've already done a good bachelor's degree and you're looking at maybe a thesis-based master's, I mean, those choices don't change. What is changing is, so, if you have to choose a program, then you have to go the way you were going previously. You have to go to the IDP counselor, share what your career objectives, your academic objectives are, and they would be able to advise you. Now, what has changed is, let's say, the open work permit for spouses. So if that was the criteria, for example, if you were supposed to take your family with you when you were going to Canada, then of course your choice cannot be a PG diploma anymore. So we have to really differentiate that your study objectives have not changed. Like it has nothing to do with the CAP or attestation. Everything has to do now with the only change that we have seen in this process is now availability of an open work permit for a spouse or not. So I'd say that that's the only change there. So that should decide what you're doing.
Correct. Thank you so much, Luna. And I will take the liberty of taking the session 2 minutes beyond the slated time, as we started a little late by 2 minutes only. So this next question, which I would like to take up from the audiences only, is again combining a lot of questions with respect to the institutions that the students have now heard and believed as that they're banned by IRCC. So they're referring to PPP institutions. So as Rahul also mentioned a while back, that many of these institutions have prepone their intake by August, and they will be welcoming the students, which would mean that the benefits would remain same. So if on this particular question, Rahul, would you like to comment that please explain to these students that what are PPP institutions like, and while they're choosing a program or they have already chosen a program, in case if they are belonging to an institution for which they have paid for is an institution which is a PPP, what would you advise to them in that case?
Okay, so I'll also answer the question that part of a question that you posted to Luna also earlier. So I can also see that a lot of questions are coming around what is the difference between certificate, diploma, postgraduate diploma, and masters and all that. So I'll quickly answer. A 1-year program is called a certificate. A 1-year program at a postgraduate level, it's called a postgraduate certificate. A 2-year program is called a diploma. A 2-year program at a postgraduate level is called a postgraduate diploma. Okay. A 4-year degree program is called an undergrad degree, and a 2-year program at universities after graduation is called a master's program. Okay, so I hope that is clear. The work permit rules on all these programs are exactly the same as before. So nothing changes except for one clarity, that students who go for masters, they will get a guaranteed 3-year work permit. Okay. Apart from that, everything else remains the same as far as the work permit is concerned. Now, the only thing is, what about the PPP institutions, and what are these PPP institutions? So all the popular names that you know of, like Fanshawe, Lambton, Humber, Seneca, all these are public colleges. Okay, so nothing changes there. You can be comfortable there. Now, some of these colleges have an agreement with a private institution, and some of their programs are being run by these private institutions in a private, smaller campus. Okay, so if you look at your offer letter, it will clearly say, Fanshawe College or ILAC campus, right? Or Fanshawe College, Toronto campus. Now that is a PPP campus. So from 1st of September onwards, if you are going to a campus like that, then you will not be eligible to get a postgraduate work permit. Only those students who are going to a postgraduate work permit. Okay, only who are going to a PPP campus. So, so just figure it out, talk to your counselors and find out whether the campus that you have selected is a PPP campus or the main campus. If it is the main campus, nothing changes. Okay. If it is a PPP campus, then look at the start date. If the start date is before 1st of September, nothing changes. If the start date is after 1st of September, then there is no postgraduate work permit, and then you will need to take the right calls for you. And in that, our counselors will help you. I hope I answered the question, Gupta.
Yes, Rahul, so many years of experience winded up in few minutes. I'm sure it's going to be difficult for the students to retain, but yes, they have all the ways and means to go to their counselors, connect with them, and get these information once again. So I would like to take up the last question as an advice, as a tip once again from all the panelists, quickly summarizing in few sentences that what are the great things you would like the students to know about Canadian education? Why should they still choose Canada as a topmost study abroad destination from South Asia? So once again, Christine, you get the chance to begin first.
Sure. Yeah, I think that's important. It's a great note to end on. So as a proud Canadian, I mean, I think this is one of the best countries in the world to live in and study in. I think that there's a huge opportunity that there's loads of jobs. It's a very welcoming and diverse community. The cities across Canada are all diverse, with students and people who have become new Canadians and immigrated here, as well as chosen here to study from all around the world. I think Rahul and I have talked about this in another webinar. I think there's, people are scared sometimes of the cold, or, it's not seen as the warmest place to go in the winter. So some people are frightened about some aspects of Canada. But I think that even embracing those aspects of Canada make for an amazing experience. So I would say still consider Canada. It's still one of the top places in the world to study. It's safe, it's warm, it's welcoming. So I would just encourage you to still consider coming here and looking at across the whole country, not just focusing on one city. There's my advice.
That's wonderful. I'll be the first one to come over, Christina. Okay, so Luna, what about you? What would you advise? Why students should choose Canada?
Well, I would say that all that Christine mentioned and all the reasons that the students were thinking about when they were considering Canada, nothing has changed. The only thing that has changed, that would change after CAP, is that you'll have access to all the resources in a better fashion. You would have more jobs to look at. You'll have affordable housing. You will, your work permit applications would get processed sooner. I'd say that things are only going to become better because of lesser people, because the way Canada was growing in terms of international students was unsustainable. We were growing maybe all destinations put together, the same number. So it was huge. And the reason why the cap has come in is only because everybody was hearing to the student complaints and addressing them. And that's the reason when you have lesser people and the same amount of resources, you would obviously be able to enjoy that more. And Canada continues to, as Christine was mentioning, continues to be a brilliant country for any newcomer. I was a newcomer 10 years ago, so I've made my home in Canada now, and I love it. I love the people around. I love the opportunities. I even love the weather now, because last year, somehow in the summers, I did not enjoy India as much. And I was comparing whether extreme winters is okay or extreme summers. And my vote was on extreme winters, because, you can be covered and you can still enjoy a lot of snow sports. So that's my vote. And I'd say that please come into Canada and enjoy the opportunities, warmth, and, just a melting pot that you witness and be a part of.
We can see that Canada has made you its own. Great. So Rahul, how would you like to summarize why should one go to Canada and study?
Well, both the Canadians on the call have summarized it very nicely. So, as somebody who has frequently visited Canada in the last 15 years or so, I can say that it's a wonderful place. It has world-class universities, world-class colleges. The education system is one of the best in the world. And students for the last many decades have been having a wonderful experience in Canada. And we have had so many success stories. A lot of those success stories are actually posted on our YouTube channel and social media. So I encourage students to visit there also and see for yourself. I think everybody understands that Canada is a wonderful place and one of the best places for higher education. But because of the recent news, there was some panic in the country and in South Asia in general. So I hope this webinar was able to answer a lot of questions, and students will continue to pursue their Canadian education dreams. So that is all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Rahul. And now to the audiences, you, I'm sure, would be aware now that what is the way forward, what is that you're supposed to do. Even if you have some more clarifications required, please feel free to visit our offices across South Asia. Our counselors and experts would be more than happy to understand, listen to you, and provide you the way forward. You will also be able to access through this recording in different social media platform of IDP pages, IDP India, IDP Nepal, IDP Bangladesh, IDP Sri Lanka, and you can access to the information given over here. We will come back to you with your questions on different platforms. You have the way forward. You will get to have a transparent, clear advice coming up from IDP, as always it has been. So thank you so much for all of you to join from all different parts of the world. And once again, a big thank you to all our panelists who have spared their time, especially the Canadians. I can see that it's Friday early morning, and they have consented to come over here and address to our student queries. So once again, thanks for all the support that you have extended. And I understand that especially India is celebrating its Republic Day. So Rahul also had spared time for being here because of his experience. I think our audience is very, very hugely benefited by your presence and by your comments and by your advices. So thank you once again. We'll come back to all our audiences in different platforms, in different ways, and keep assisting you, keep motivating you, keep clarifying your thoughts, keep giving you advices for making it big in the study abroad sector. Thank you once again, everybody.